There is no doubt that countries in Africa have experienced the most atrocious from African warlords. Immediately after triumphing against colonialism within the 1950s to early 1990s, these nations were subject to horrible dictators, and to date, some have never managed to rise from their predicament. Many Africans have died at the hands of these cruel despots. Most of the African dictators emerged from volatile political systems and used military and ruthless tactics to gain power for themselves. To these dictators, violence was their biggest weapon and a means to an end. Here is a list of notorious African warlords with the most outrageous and heinous human acts ever witnessed. At number 10, we have Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir of Sudan. Omar became president of Sudan, now divided into North and South Sudan, in 1989, and almost immediately started his assault on non-Arab Africans in the region. He used the country's money to fund Islamist terrorists like Janjaweed, who in turn slaughtered black Africans by the truckloads. This monster is responsible for the killing of more than 300,000 Sudanese. Number 9. Bosco Ntaganda of Rwanda. Bosco, born 5th November 1973, also known as the Terminator, was more of a warlord for rent. He helped overthrow the Hulu-led government and then moved to Congo to help overthrow the government after being made the head of the military in DRC. He is responsible for about 800,000 deaths in total and many other human rights violations. He was convicted of 18 counts on 8 July 2019 and was sentenced to 30 years in prison by the ICC. At number 8, we have Thomas Lubanga of DRC. Thomas Lubanga is the first person to ever be convicted by the International Criminal Court (ICC) as a war criminal. He was a warlord in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC Congo, where he founded and led the Union of Congolese Patriots. He was a key player in the Ituri conflict. According to reports, rebels under his command have been accused of massive human rights violations, which include ethnic massacres. This activity led to murder and conscripting child soldiers, which have led to as many as 60,000 deaths. For number 7, we have Joseph Kony of Uganda. Joseph Kony formed a group called Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda. He was accused for being responsible for recruiting child soldiers, with at least 60,000 children abducted. According to the reports, his military campaign led to killing of 1,000 people per week. As a result, he was accused of ethnic cleansing and war against humanity in Uganda. At number 6, we have Charles Taylor of Liberia. Charles MacArthur Taylor, born 28th January 1948, is among the African dictators with the highest count of massacred people. In 1989, Mr. Taylor was in charge of the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, a revolt based in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, which moved in to kill more than 200,000 Liberians in a civil war that lasted 7 years. Charles Taylor was appointed as the president of Liberia in 1997, following the end of the war, as he threatened to resume violence if he was not elected. His famous campaign slogan was, "He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I will vote for him." At number 5, we have Jean Kambanda of Rwanda. Jean Kambanda became Prime Minister of the caretaker government of Rwanda 2 days after the assassination of the president. He was held to be criminally responsible after it was found that he did not intervene to stop the genocide that took place. He has been proven guilty of being responsible for giving out weapons and ammunition to people during the 1993-94 Rwanda genocide. However, he denied the knowledge of their intended use in a genocide, which leaves him with the blood of some 800,000 people on his hands. Top 4, we have Joshua Milton Blahyi of Liberia. Joshua Milton Blahyi, born 30th September 1971, also nicknamed General But Naked, was one of the feared African generals during the First Liberian Civil War that occurred in the early 90s. Joshua would go into battles naked, wearing nothing but shoes. hence his name. According to him, showing up to war naked made him feel invincible. It is possible he made his opponents uncomfortable with his nakedness, and they had no option but to leave. Joshua Blahyi asserted in 2008 that he had murdered nearly 20,000 people, conducted frequent human sacrifices, and ate children. Later on, the African warlord converted to Christianity, and the former most evil man in the world is currently a leader of his ministry. He has denounced his old inhuman ways and now preaches peace and love. Coming in at number 3, we have Jean-Bédel Bokasa of C.A.R. Jean-Bédel Bokasa, born 22nd February 1921, is one of the ancient African warlords who was ruthless from the start. Before rising to power, Jean was a soldier in the French Equatorial Army. Bokasa became the autocrat leader of the Central African Republic and its successor country, Central African Empire, in 1966, after he killed his cousin in a coup in 1965. Soon after, he was named the Butcher of Bangui. Even though it is not clear the number of citizens he murdered, Jean was personally behind the massacre of 100 school children because they could not afford to purchase expensive school attire with his emblem. To add, Jean Bokasa was also accused to be feeding on human flesh. And coming in at number 2, we have Gnassingbé Eyadema of Togo. Gnassingbé Eyadema, born 26 December 1935 from Togo, is another longest-serving African warlord who was in power for close to 38 years. The dictator first rose to power in 1967 following a fatal takeover. As no one could overpower him, it took death to finally remove him from his throne. Eyadema died in 2005 following a cardiac arrest. Nevertheless, his son, Faure Gnassingbé, succeeded the absolute leader in a non-democratic twist. Having left a bad historical name, it is surprising that some other African countries still followed in his tyrant's footprints. At number 1, we have Idi Amin Dada Oumee of Uganda. Idi Amin Dada Oumee, born 17th May 1925, is one of the most famous warlords ever seen in Africa. He came to power in 1971 following a military coup. Previously, Amin was a commander in the Ugandan army. He ruled Uganda for 8 years, during which he earned the nickname the Butcher of Uganda, following his brutal ways, with some believing he was a cannibal. In 1977, the United Kingdom decided to close its Ugandan embassy, following the atrocities of Mr. Amin. As a result, the dictator declared that he had single-handedly defeated the British Empire in his country. Amin was responsible for various inhuman acts, corruption, and murders. It is estimated that nearly 500,000 individuals lost their lives under his authority. Great news came in 1979 when he was ousted from leadership. The warlord later met his demise at the age of 78 years, while exiled in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Well, the above-mentioned African warlords are some of the most barbaric and petrifying individuals ever to govern the continent. Millions of Africans have suffered and died under their regimes, and more continue to endure agony under their continued legacies. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, then please help support our growth by liking and sharing this video. Bye for now.